So here we are in Culleoka, Tennessee. I'm with Adam of Bee Kept, and his lovely wife Leslie is filming. I met Adam and Leslie at a homestead conference type thing this September, and it was really interesting because Adam is doing what is called natural beekeeping. And so when I've learned about beekeeping or heard about it before, you order in a queen through the mail and you have to, it's a whole different other production. And what he does actually is encourages people to kind of to capture bees the natural way when they swarm in the spring. So I'm down here because I'm picking up a swarm trap that I bought from Adam. And if you want to share more about natural beekeeping and what the swarm trap is, that'd be great.
Yeah. So this is a starter hive that Justine's buying. It holds, it's set up for land style frames. And underneath here, this is actually a Lands hive with bees in it. They're hanging out in there right now.
Now Lands is horizontal hive.
Lands is actually the style of frame.
Oh,
so
okay.
This is a horizontal hive down here. And this is basically a horizontal starter hive. But Lands is the style frame. So in America and in the Western world, a guy named Langstroth is the one that developed the beekeeping methods here. But his counterpart in France and in Eastern Europe was George Lands, and he set up a different style frame. It's taller than it is wider. I don't have one to show you right now, but most people, what they imagine, what they've seen as far as beekeeping equipment goes, is Langstroth style frames, which are wider, and then they see the vertical boxes, which are taller than the horizontal box. There's some huge advantages to the Lands style frame, and I learned basically what I learned from Dr. Leo, who's a Russian bee guy in Missouri, and he showed the benefits of the Lands. And what the bees do is they establish a 4-inch honey rainbow over the top of their brood nest, which this would be where the baby bees and the queen hang out. And so for overwintering, there's not a lot of thought that I have to do in order to get my bees to survive during the winter. I leave them all of their honey, and they have a 4-inch honey rainbow over the top of their brood nest, and they never are going to run out of that honey during the winter.
And I think, if I remember right from that presentation you did, most hives, they actually have like a already man-made honeycomb in there, and
Yes.
We're not doing that here. You put wire in, and then they'll build the honeycomb on that wire.
Yes.
Okay.
So it's very common in our Western way of doing things to use plastic foundation or wax foundation, and that's man's modern convenience. And they have a lot of reasons why they think that it's better, that it helps the bees. But what I found, and my friends that keep bees this way have found, is that bees are really good at building comb as fast as they can in the spring, and they have plenty of comb, and they do their job really, really well. And so that's really what we're trying to get to as far as natural beekeeping, is allowing the bees to be bees and do what they do best,
Right.
with the least amount of interference by us.
Right.
I believe that we can be the biggest problem that honeybees have. That without us, if we just left honeybees alone, they would be just fine in the woods for the next 10,000 years and be good without us.
Right.
So, but what we want is, I want honey, you want honey, and you want pollinators in your garden. And so we want to have this mutually beneficial relationship with the honeybees, so that we get the honey and we get the pollination, and they get a very nice home that's almost as good as their tree that they'd be living in,
Right.
that they can overwinter in well, and that they can survive in.
Right. So it looks just, this is basic plywood on the outside, it looks like. And then anything else, I mean, this is a kind of like a, I don't know what material this
It's
is.
called smooth coil, so I believe it's aluminum.
Okay.
So it's waterproof. It's a waterproof barrier for the roof.
And there's what, 7 frames?
There's 7 Lands frames in here.
Okay, and then we've got our little bee doors.
Yeah, so those are some little discs, entrance discs.
Entrance, the little bee entry doorway.
That's their door.
And
Yeah.
then, okay, so the mechanics of catching a swarm, we were talking about how when the maple leaves start to break open,
Yep.
which is usually early March or so, we
Yes.
think. Yeah.
Yeah, so right here in Middle Tennessee, the silver maples will start to bloom. You'll see them bud in February, and they're just getting ready to bloom, and then we'll have snow. We'll have a nice cold day. But then in March, when we have that sunny and 68-degree day, all of a sudden you see those silver maples bloom, and that's the first time that I hear my honeybees buzzing, and they're going crazy because they just came out of winter. There's a brand new nectar source. They already know that they've been eating through their stores in their hive, and so they go into hyperdrive on bringing back nectar as fast as they can, and that triggers swarm season. So that's when I know I need to, and my clients, that we all need to have our swarm traps baited and up in the tree and ready to go. March 1st, it's super early, but I've caught swarms in Middle Tennessee March 15th, April 1st. I feel like over the last couple of years, the peak of swarm season has been around the end of April. But you can catch swarms March, April, May, even into June.
So by early March, I have to get this up in a tree and somehow ratchet strap it up there.
Yep.
I need to find some good friends with ladders.
Yeah.
And it goes up there, and then I pay attention, and if I see activity in the doorway, then I'll know that there's a hive in there.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
Yeah, so what you'll see, you'll get it. You can actually catch bees at this level, a swarm. A guy named Dr. Seeley really studied bees in natural habitat, and he came up with some really good things for us to use to implement in catching feral bees. And one of the things that he said was that he caught more bees at 15 feet than he did at 3 feet. And so that's what I try to do, is get my swarm traps up high, because the bees are looking for a hole in the tree that's their natural habitat. And so when they're scouting, looking for a new home, and they find my swarm trap, that's a nice big huge swarm trap, safe up off the ground, like you said, that's what I'm trying to do, is I'm trying to give them something better than they would find out there in nature, which is difficult to do.
And one thing that was interesting that I was surprised about is you bait it with lemongrass oil, right? So you put some lemongrass oil, and somehow bees are attracted to that.
Yes, so lemongrass essential oil mimics bee pheromone. And they're attracted to anything that smells good and sweet, like a flower. But lemongrass essential oil specifically mimics bee pheromone, and they're very attracted to it. And so actually inside of here, I've got...
so where would I put the oil?
I'll show you. So inside of here, your starter hive comes with 2 time-release capsules.
Oh, bonus. I didn't know.
Right? I didn't even charge you for those.
Oh, okay.
I'm glad I looked in here, because right now I'm only finding... Oh, no, there's 2.
Okay.
So you've got 2 time-release capsules.
Okay, so early March, this goes in the tree. I open these up.
Yep, you open these up, and you are going to put just a teeny bit with a dropper. There's actually a little bit of lemongrass essential oil already in there. I'm not going to charge you for that as well.
Yeah, okay, bonus.
Yeah. So you can smell it right now. Smell that. I'm sure you smell lemongrass essential oil. Now you don't want to put this on, when you're out in the bee garden, because guess what you're going to have running around? Bees, excited bees. So these have a pinhole in the lid. So all you do is you cap it. You put it half full of lemongrass essential oil. Cap it. 2 of them. Put them right inside of here. I like to put one up on the frames. Kind of trapped, or you could put them both up here, or put one down inside, one here. There's no rhyme or reason to it necessarily. Cool. If you have a little gap over here on the side, you could even put it like that. So you're just going to put both of those in here.
Okay, great.
And then what I do is I go really big with lemongrass oil outside of the hive. So this is just a teeny tiny bit inside. Bees have 200 times our sense of smell. And so you don't want to overpower them inside of the hive. They want to come in there and think that there's bees hanging out in here and make this their new home. So outside the hive, what I'll do is I'll actually soak toothpicks or something like that, something absorbent that's going to hold the scent for a long time. I'll soak toothpicks, and I'll actually stick them inside the lid, which is sitting right here, right above the entrance. And that's broadcasting lemongrass essential oil for a long distance.
Is there anything like with what type of tree I should put it in? Doesn't matter?
No, I say pick the tree where you want to have bees at the base of that tree. Because we were talking about earlier, you can move bees up to 15 feet, or you've got to move them more than 3 miles.
So it was interesting. Once you catch the swarm and you bring it out of the tree, you can only maximum move them 15 feet at a time. So it's like you have to kind of catch the swarm where you want the swarm to be.
That's right.
And so when a swarm comes in, and I notice because there's a little activity here, I close it, and at night is when I take it down, or like how do I take it out of the tree?
So what you do is you get this box up in the tree, you'd have this wide open so that scout bees can show up, go inside and check it out. What'll happen is you'll come, there's actually a bee right there, probably smells some lemongrass essential oil. What'll happen is scout bees, when the hive swarms, when one of my hives swarms, they swarm up to a branch and they create a big huge swarm, which you've probably seen pictures of, a big ball of bees, and the queen's inside of that big ball of bees. And the bees in this group that the day before they were forager bees, they're now scout bees. And they immediately start going out and looking for a new home.
Okay.
So they're hanging on the branch somewhere out here and they're looking for a new home.
So you really want, after you see activity, you gotta wait a few days for it to kind of fill with the queen.
Yes.
Like let it sit for a bit and then take it down.
Well, this is what you'll see is, so you'll be excited in March. You'll be looking at this every day. And one day this March, you'll come out and it'll be sunny and 68 degrees, and you'll see 5 or 10 bees running around the entrance here, flying around. They'll be flying up here around the lid, and what they're doing is they're surveying the box. And these are scout bees, and they're looking at this box. They are from an active swarm, and they're actively looking at the box.
Right.
So at this point, you don't want to touch them. You want to just stand back and just let them do their thing.
Okay.
Then what'll happen is so what they're doing is they're going back to the swarm and they're arguing with the rest of the scout bees on who's got the best place to take mama and the bundle of bees.
Right.
So if these bees that are scouting this box, if they win the argument, then the entire swarm starts to make their way here. What happens is it'll be 10 bees, 50 bees, 100 bees. And when you see 100 bees flying around this thing, that's when you grab a lawn chair, ice cold beverage, sit back and get ready for the show. Get your video camera ready because you're getting ready to see a show. And what'll happen is a cloud of bees, 50,000, 100,000 bees will show up to this box and they'll all move in it in a matter of minutes.
Wow.
So if you don't witness it, and I haven't witnessed it many times, I've known that something was going on. I went and ate lunch, came back, and it was already over.
Oh, wow.
But what'll happen is, and this is when you want to just leave them alone. You'll see their attitude change. Before you saw scout bees checking out the box, real active. Now that the swarm has moved in, you'll see bees hanging right around the entrance, and they're guarding, and everybody else is inside setting up shop in here.
Yes.
Then in the next couple of days, you'll start to see bees taking off, and then you'll see some coming back. And then when you see them, when they've got pollen pants, that's where they've got pollen on their legs.
I love that expression, pollen.
Yeah, when you see color on their legs coming back, that's when you know they're bringing resources back to their queen, and they've established a home in here.
Okay.
So what I say is that you leave them alone for 10 days from the time that you think you caught the swarm. When you can confirm it and you see pollen pants, that's day 1. And so at 10 days, at that mark, that is when you'd be able to take them down. And so you'd close them up overnight. You'd wait until the sun went down. You could use a smoker to get any bees that are hanging out right here to go inside. And then you'd close it to the vent, which is the holes.
Right.
That way they get air through there. You don't want to close them off completely.
Do I fool with this at all?
So this one is different.
Okay.
What you would do with this is I would use this in the winter time. So let's say next fall you're going into winter, you've got bees in here, and you're going to overwinter them in this box. So what you would do is you would close this to either the screen, or if you thought it was going to get really cold, you could go to this, which is completely sealed off, and open up this to where they would use this top entrance.
Oh, okay.
The reason for that is during the winter when it gets super cold, the heat rises in the box, right? They'll be really active up here. So then bees can still come and go on a day like today. They do cleansing flights where they go to the restroom and then they go back in. And then they take dead bees out and drop them and come back in. And then that's what this one is also. This entrance right here would be for the winter. That would be a mouse guard because a mouse can't get inside of there.
Very little tiny.
So that would actually probably be the what I would use in the winter time. And then when it's getting springtime and we're getting ready for nectar flow, I'd put it back on the holes in it, which will give ventilation when it gets really hot and humid, and then go back to wide open on the bottom.
Right. Awesome.
So then, boom, it'd be
Okay.
April, May, and they'd be coming and going.
Okay, well, I'm super excited. I put in an orchard. I'm still adding trees. It's probably too many at this point, but I need pollinators and never done anything with bees, so I'm really excited to try this out. And thank you, Leslie, and thank you, Adam, so much for your time. And
You bet.
I'm excited to see what happens in March. I'm already excited.